information I want to correct is that the lady in question was like a daughter to me. She had stayed with me for 3 years. She was a staff of the Federal Medical University. She was a nurse and not a physiotherapist. And the family and my family are like one family. And she has her medical records in Turkish hospital, being paid by us. And she spoke to her boyfriend at the hour of her death and complaining that she was bleeding from the nose. And the boyfriend said, no, you have to report. You say it has stopped. So the boyfriend said, listen, I will not continue this conversation since you are bleeding. It will increase the bleeding. And she told the boyfriend, don't cut the call. The boyfriend cut the call. And 3 minutes later, the boyfriend called again. She was not responding. And even in the morning, she told the boyfriend she was going to bath because she locked her door, you know. So even in the morning, when they broke the door and discovered her dead, the tap was still running, you know. So, but what baffles me, you know, in this country is that everything becomes an opportunity. Now, there is a guest house where her and the second medical person stayed. And that is very far from where I stay. And so it means that, God forbid, somebody dies in Ministry of Works, the minister must be accountable to that. Is that what they say? Is that they say that somebody cannot die? Is that, have they checked the medical records of the lady? Do they know, you know, that this lady was like a daughter to me? And but you know, everything goes into politics. But what I say to people, be careful. Life is spiritual. When you want to use the unfortunate death of a young girl to play politics, if we have hands in the killings, it will follow us in our family. But if we don't have hands and you are jumping into it, behold, this is David. I'm a man of full grace. You don't, you know, tackle me anyhow and you go out of it. So be careful when you want to use the death of that young lady. You know, one of my best workers, a nurse, a staff of the federal. Somebody said, oh, they were transported, you know. The second girl is from Benue State, you know, and that girl has worked with me as a governor before she was employed. And so when people darken, so while I'm not talking to the president, it means nothing, but very painful to me that that girl passed on, you know. It's very difficult to replace her, you know. And, you know, the parents will be begging them, allow autopsy to happen. They say it's against their culture. But the question is that if she were a Muslim, will you be insisting that autopsy will happen? You know. But we insisted to our lawyer that autopsy should happen. And we are begging the parents to allow autopsy to happen. And I say, no, it's against their culture. And so we have a statement, you know, and only God will resolve it, because I have directed that the corpse cannot be removed until they have done autopsy. But it's very strange why an unfortunate thing that happened, you know, is being made this. Is it that we killed a woman that was giving me injection, you know, or that, you know, was administering drug to us, that live in our guest house, even in my residence in Asokoro? So what sort of rubbish is that, you know? So, but people should be careful, because when I kneel down to pray, I say, when you push yourself into this, I say, God, may the death of the girl be better than their own death. That's my prayer for everybody that is using it to play politics. But if we have hands, let it also follow us. Because it can be very annoying when people use, you know, people's, you know, unfortunate incident and are playing politics. Some people are calling me, we are this organization, we want to do protests, we want you to see us. You know, what is it? This is David. You know, I don't fear battle, you know, and I've never lost any, you know. But life is spiritual. We need to be very, very careful. It's very important. So the matter is ongoing. We've reported to IG to transfer the case to Abuja, so that, you know, because I'm from a former governor there, so let them transfer it to Abuja and let them beg the family to do autopsy. I'm begging the family to meet with IG so that maybe IG can convince them. But there are medical records in Turkish hospital. The last one was on 5th of April, and it cost me 2.2 million. The records are there. I paid 2.2 million, So that is it. So I don't want to go because it's like a daughter that died. So I'm mourning, and I laugh at, so say it's a physiotherapist. They presented the girls as if they were wrong girls. These people were inside the plane with me, and my immediate staff. We flew together. It's not as if they even came to Ebonyi differently. We flew together, with them. We're going to Lagos, and this is not the first time. The boyfriend also told us that in Lagos, which was when we went for this coastal route, that she called him and said she was bleeding from the nose. He said, no, report to your boss. He said the boss will insist that she should go back to hospital, that she didn't want, and she don't stress me. So he said, look for hospital around there and go. That's the confession of the boyfriend, And so I've asked the police to go to the call log, and then they will see the last discussion, the girl had with the boyfriend at the hour of that, because the moment the boyfriend started calling again, she was not picking the call again. So you can go to the call log of the boy, go to the call log of the girl, and you hear the conversation. It's an unfortunate thing that happens. And like I said again, she's been receiving treatment at Turkish hospital, and the medical records are there. So I don't want to join issues with anybody, but just know that the guest house far from where I was staying, and as the head of that home, I take responsibility in making sure that, the right thing is done. But I suspect no foul play, but because, is it the girl, the colleague from Benue State, that who they sleeping on the same bed? Is it the girl that we remotely kill her because her door was still locked? That door was broken before this thing, and the tap was still running, And the police, because she I think she was going to bath. And so when they took her to the mortuary, that's when the police took the picture in the mortuary. They don't trace up in the mortuary, and took the picture, and they send out damaging information. The police, whoever that spoke to Sarah reporter, after the burial, we answered to our family. We are not going to leave the matter lying. I've directed my lawyers to get across to two, people on cyber bullying on this matter. So we're going to test the law on that. So
thank you very much.
That's just it.
Thank you very much.
May her soul rest in peace.
And yes, sir.
Publish what I said. Don't twist matters. If you twist matters, no Lagos inspection. Publish what I said, because do not twist.